Now, Griffin is going to teach me a few things about playing chess.
Okay. So we got this chessboard set all correctly, which is awesome, right? Usually the most complicated like two pieces that is hard for a lot of people to do are knights and then pawns because there's so many rules to that. But usually what people do is they push these side pawns. And the way I always think about it is that we always want to do three things. We want to try to control the center, develop your knights and bishops, and we want a castle. Now, that's a lot. And so I want to always try to do kind of step by step um, because of my brain injury. So the way I do this is we always want to control these like center squares, if you will, right? But I also want to try to do it while we're opening up either our bishops and our knights. Now, what's great is that the knights can move without pushing any of these pawns. But I always consider these pawns as like a wall, right? And these bishops can't get out because of these walls. So the way I do this is I want to control the center, but we're also opening up a bishop. And
Okay.
yeah, that's why whenever they push a side pawn, this doesn't open up this bishop. It opens up the rook, and we don't want to do that. Well, I've seen it happen, but it's not the greatest, right?
Okay.
So if we're trying to like control the center, we want to do what, white does, right? Then we usually want to, it doesn't really matter as much, but we always want to develop our knights and bishops the best of our ability, right? So we want to develop our knights like this. Something like this happens, right? Um, Now, the only other thing we have to do is open up these bishops, right? So if that's the case, we want to this pawn, so then we can open up this bishop, right? And everything's all about controlling the center with the pawns and our pieces. But if we're doing like this, be like this, woo, like this, right?
Okay.
Now that's the knights, the bishops. You got both controlling the center and developing your knights and bishops. Now the last part is probably the hardest part for kids to learn, and it's to castle. Now it's so weird, but the king always goes on only one square. This is the only time that the king goes twice, which is strange, right?
Mm.
But the way to castle, right, is we do like this. One, two, and the rook flips over. And the way I do this is I do a backflip or a triple backflip. I don't know, whatever you want to make the rook swing over on the other side. Now the purpose why we want to do this is that the whole point of the chess game is try to checkmate the king, right? And the way I think about this is if you castle, the way I do this is that you're making this king safer, all right?
Okay.
But that's the way I like to do this. But if you do those three things, you have a good chess game.
Wow, that is amazing. Now, tell me a little bit about how the mistakes that people make when they set up their chessboard.
Yes, so usually, let's go back here.
Okay.
Um, Usually, when they set up the chessboard here, usually they flip the number. So usually black goes on 1 2 and white goes on 7 8. That's the most common mistakes I see. One time I saw a knight and bishop like this, um, rook bishop knight versus rook knight and bishop. And I think the most common mistake also is switching the queen and the king. And we always have numbers and letters, and I always say that this square is D for dress,
Mm.
right? The queen is white. We want to always go on the light square, um, because that's her color. Same thing for black. We want to keep it, where it wants compared to a queen that is not on her color, right?
That's a good way to remember
Yeah.
it. Great. Well, thank you for these wonderful tips.
Hmm.
Hopefully, I will be able to win against my son next time we play.
Cool.